Oil slicks spotted in the Java Sea during the search for a missing AirAsia jet. Hundreds of people plucked to safety from a burning ferry in the Adriatic Sea. And a government plan to revive agriculture in Hong Kong.
Good evening. There are reports tonight that rescue crews looking for the missing AirAsia flight have spotted oil slicks and possible wreckage in the Java Sea. Still, Indonesian authorities say it's too early to formally announce they have found the plane, which is believed to have come down while en route to Singapore yesterday. What began as a search and rescue operation for Indonesia AirAsia Flight 8501 has quickly morphed into a grim task to salvage the wreckage and recover the bodies. The Airbus A320 jet with 162 passengers and crew on board was on a routine flight from the Indonesian city of Surabaya to Singapore when it vanished midway through its flight path over the Java Sea. Based on the coordinates of the plane's last known location, Indonesian authorities have focused their search around the islands of Bangka and West Kalimantan province on Borneo Island. They believe most of the plane is now at the bottom of the sea. Finding the jet's flight data recorders will be crucial to work out the cause of the crash. Bad weather is believed to have played a part, although exactly what part is not clear right now. Some experts have drawn loose parallels between this accident and Air France Flight 447 in 2009, which crashed en route from Brazil to France, killing all 228 on board. That was blamed on a combination of bad weather and malfunctioning speed sensors, among the main factors which confused the crew and allowed the plane to stall, causing the crash. There are concerns the crew of the doomed AirAsia flight encountered something similar. The boss of the AirAsia group, which includes the franchise in Indonesia that operated the doomed flight, has been in Surabaya helping coordinate the airline's response to the crisis.
Until today, we have never lost a life. But I think any airline CEO who says that he can guarantee that his airline is 100% safe is not accurate. There's so many factors, and right now we cannot speculate as to what was the cause of the accident. But for the last 13 years we have run a very thorough operation, and we will continue to do that.
In Singapore, where QZ8501 should have landed yesterday morning, stories have emerged of people who could have been on the flight, but escaped because of a fortunate change in plans.
There was a relative having a wedding, and the wedding ended quite late. So we were thinking like, no, just postpone one day. So thanks God, we were supposed to be on that flight on the 28th. And it's eerie.
But others weren't so lucky, including a man surnamed Choi, a UK citizen who is also a Hong Kong resident. He was travelling with his daughter back to Singapore, where he lives and works, and was on the flight.
More than 300 people have been plucked from a burning ferry adrift in rough seas between Italy and Albania. Rescue crews are braving frigid temperatures, smoke, gale force winds and darkness as they scramble to save the remaining 150 passengers and crew from the stricken vessel. James Aiken reports.
High seas drama in a high-stakes rescue. Navy teams painstakingly airlift 49 passengers from the burning deck of a stricken Greek ferry. At least one person died earlier in a rescue shoot. 2 others have been injured. Soon after, a cargo ship that had been nearby the ferry arrives in the southern Italian port city of Bari, with the first big group of rescued passengers to reach land. An Italian official says the passengers, many of them children, are being assessed by doctors at the scene, but they appear to be in good condition. Mobile phone footage shot by one of the survivors reveals the extent of the floating inferno. Other passengers still on board the ferry called a Greek TV station, saying they were huddled on the upper decks and struggling to breathe amid the thick smoke.
The
We are outside, we are very cold, the ship is full of smoke and the floors are boiling, says this passenger. Among the rescued passengers is 37-year-old Nick Channing Williams. He had called his mother in England to describe his situation while he was still on the boat.
He said, well, it's an awful lot worse for us because we're actually standing out here in the pouring rain and thunder and lightning, and we really don't just know exactly what's going to happen.
The Italian-flagged Norman Atlantic was packed with 478 people, many of them vacationers and truck drivers traveling from Greece to Italy when the fire broke out before dawn Sunday on the boat's vehicle deck. Maritime officials say the fire is now partially under control and the ship is being towed. The Norman Atlantic was built in 2009 and was last inspected earlier this month. Officials say minor deficiencies were found, including a malfunctioning fire door. But the ship's manufacturer says all problems were fixed immediately to the satisfaction of inspectors. James Aiken, TVB News.
2 people have drowned and 4 are missing at sea and feared dead after 2 merchant ships collided in rough seas off the Italian coast. A Turkish ship with 11 crew members sank after the collision with a Baileys-flagged ship in poor visibility. Maritime officials say the dead and missing are all Turkish men from the ship Gökbel, which sank after the collision. 5 other members of the vessel have been rescued and are in good condition. There were no casualties among the crew of the other ship, which was towed back to port. Officials say the rescue operation is being hampered by bad weather.
Here in Hong Kong, Asia television staff are to receive half their November salaries before the end of the year. It comes as the Labour Department continues consulting with the Department of Justice on whether there's enough evidence to prosecute the troubled broadcaster over its failure to pay staff on time. Joao da Silva reports.
The measure undertaken by ATV's management comes after more than 700 employees went through Christmas without pay. ATV will pay staff half of their overdue November salaries within 2 days. As he made the announcement, the station's executive director, Ip Kapo, admitted that for now the company could only pay $7 million of the $15 million owed to employees. That's after news staff issued an open letter last week threatening to walk out on January 1st. Still, Ip expressed hope that the troubled station would soon be in a position to pay both November and December salaries in full. He added that ATV employees still love the company. He said the station must have a future and explained that the quickest way to save it would be for a white knight investor to come to its rescue and for shareholders to inject funds into its accounts. The comments came ahead of a meeting this afternoon between 2 senior Deloitte accountants who have been appointed as managers at the station and ATV employees. After the meeting, the Labour Department said it would consider its next step.
If the wages still remain unpaid, it's still breaking the law, and so we take a serious attitude towards this case, and we will, if there's sufficient evidence, we will take a prosecution.
In a statement, the Labour Department added it is consulting with the Department of Justice about whether there is sufficient evidence to prove the broadcaster failed to pay the salaries deliberately and without reasonable excuse. It is also trying to work out whether the delay was agreed to or tolerated by ATV's management or board. This could determine whether to undertake prosecution.
停工嘅話咧，就會影響到廣播。
In the meantime, an editor with ATV's Chinese news section, Law Pui King, criticized the accountants sent to manage the station. She said that instead of coming up with solutions, they simply warned workers that if they decide not to show up on January 1st, this could affect the operation of ATV's news department, resulting in the station violating the terms of its free-to-air license, a step that would ultimately limit its chances of finding a new investor. Joao da Silva, TVB News.
Well, today was the first working day after the opening of the MTR West Island line. The railway company says the operation of the new rail line has been generally smooth. Owen Fung reports.
This morning, some residents of Kennedy Town, one of the districts served by the extended island line, chose to take the MTR to work for the first time. This man says he prefers the railway to other forms of public transportation because it's not affected by traffic conditions on the roads. Some passengers, however, are not sure whether they'll switch to the MTR permanently. This man says he'll try out the West Island line for a few weeks before deciding which mode of transportation is more convenient for him.
Up to 5 o'clock today, we have actually served over 60,000 passengers in the 2 new stations, and passenger flow has been very smooth.
At the HKU station, passengers have to walk for around 6 minutes before getting to the exit for the Westwood shopping mall. My legs are getting tired, this woman says. The moving walkways only go in one direction. It would be better if they go both ways. Passengers heading to Kowloon can interchange for the Chunwan line at Central or Admiralty Station. The 2 stations, however, were no more crowded than usual this morning. But at 7 a.m, there was a slight delay of trains on the Island line. The MTR Corporation explained that it was caused by a glitch in the computer system of a train at Kennedy Town Station, but the problem was promptly resolved. With the availability of the West Island line, queues for buses in Kennedy Town were shorter than usual. A bus route from Wafu Estate to Central was cancelled earlier, but the bus company launched a circular route between Tin Wan and Shek Tong Choi to take passengers to MTR stations. Owen Fung, TVB News.
The government is planning to revive agriculture in Hong Kong. Today it launched a 3-month consultation on its plans to do so. Evelina Leung reports.
Hong Kong is well known for being an international financial hub. However, the government unveiled plans today to revive and modernize the city's diminishing agriculture industry. One way to do this is to establish a 70 to 80 hectare agri-park for farmers engaged in crop farming and commercial production.
It will serve as a base for experimenting with new agricultural practices for commercial production and promoting the application of advances in technology for agricultural use. It also aims to facilitate knowledge transfer in agricultural science and agro-business management.
An agricultural development fund will also be set up to provide financial support for research, the development of technology, and improvement in agricultural infrastructure, among other things. The government also aims to provide more support to farmers to help them to move up the value chain through marketing and brand building. Apart from helping those who are working in the farming industry, the administration also plans to promote this line of work to the public through ways such as leisure farming. However, some farmers like Mr. Chan, who invested $3 million to set up a farm, says this is still not enough. He says more government subsidies should be provided. Others, meanwhile, complained the agri-park is too small and that the government should collect unused private land and turn them into farms as well. Evelina Lang, TVB News.
And still ahead in our news tonight. Police expect 370,000 New Year's Eve revelers to go out on the streets. Queen's Guards to go behind barriers due to attack fears. And people get rid of bad memories in New York City.
A prolonged Occupy protest, blocking vital roads, plunged Hong Kong into one of the worst political crises in history and led to unprecedented social polarization. Tuesday night, China Ping An Online Insurance presents Hong Kong Review 2014 at 8:30 on Pearl.
夠型，咩場面都駕馭到，就好似咁。陣間開記招，執靚啲喎。冇問題 ，Philips 9000系列電鬚刨8向輪廓感應科技，征服無數面型。V 型正確切替系統，徹底剃淨。仲有面油喎。控油潔面都掂 ，Philips 9000系列電鬚刨，任何場合認出必行。
Innovation and you, Philips.
The voluntary health insurance scheme has much to do with you.
大病過之後，先知道醫保重要。
如果